The Silent Architect. How inaction can build your greatest regrets. Evan liked to believe his life was steady by design. Not extraordinary, not disastrous, just smooth enough to avoid sharp edges. He told himself that restraint was wisdom, that patience was maturity, that waiting was sometimes the most intelligent move. What he didn't realize, at least not yet, was that something invisible had been working tirelessly in the background, laying brick after brick in the quiet spaces where decisions should have been made. That something was in action. It began subtly, the way most lifelong regrets do. In his early 20s, Evan had wanted to be a writer. Not casually, he wanted it with the aching certainty that wakes you at night. He filled notebooks with ideas, fragments of stories, half-written scenes. But when it came time to submit his work, he hesitated. The stories weren't ready, he told himself. He wasn't ready. There would be time later. Later became a comfortable word. It asked nothing of him. He took a safe job instead, one that paid the bills and impressed relatives at family dinners. Each morning, he promised himself he would write in the evenings. Each evening, he felt tired enough to justify not doing so. The notebooks moved from his desk to a drawer, from a drawer to a box. He didn't throw them away, that would have felt too final. Keeping them was a way of pretending the dream was merely resting. Years passed, quietly, efficiently. Evan grew skilled at his job, respected but unremarkable. Opportunities came, as they always do, disguised as inconveniences. A chance to move cities for a more challenging role. An invitation to collaborate on a risky but exciting project. Each time he paused, weighed the uncertainty and chose the familiar. Staying felt responsible. Staying felt safe. In truth, staying felt easier. There were moments when the walls of his carefully constructed life trembled. Once, at a friend's wedding, he ran into Mira, a woman he had loved deeply in college. He had never told her. Back then, he had waited for the perfect moment, the right words, the certainty of reciprocation. The moment never arrived, and eventually neither did she. Now she stood before him, confident, laughing easily, her hand resting on her husband's arm. They spoke politely, warmly, like strangers with shared footnotes. As Evan watched her walk away, he felt a strange sensation, not jealousy, not heartbreak, but something colder. It was the realization that nothing dramatic had kept them apart. No betrayal, no great misunderstanding, just silence. That night, lying awake, Evan began to sense the presence of the silent architect. It didn't shout or demand. It didn't force his hand. It simply accepted his hesitation and built around it. Each time he chose not to act, it added another corridor, another locked door, another narrowing of possibility. Regret, he discovered, was not always loud. It didn't always arrive with tears or breakdowns. Often, it came as a dull awareness, a quiet inventory of what-ifs that surfaced in moments of stillness. While doing dishes, while driving home, while watching someone else live a life that looked suspiciously like the one he might have had. The most unsettling part was this: Evan couldn't point to a single catastrophic mistake. There was no moment he could rewind to fix everything. His life was the sum of small non-decisions, each one reasonable on its own, each one gently steering him away from the person he once imagined becoming. One evening, well into his 40s, Evan attended a reading by a local author. The writer spoke about rejection, about years of obscurity, about fear. The hardest part, she said, wasn't failing. It was almost never trying. The words struck him with unexpected force. He felt seen in a way that made him uncomfortable. He went home and opened the old box. The pages were yellowed, the handwriting uneven, but the voice was still there. Raw, imperfect, alive. He read until midnight, then until dawn. For the first time in years, regret sharpened into something else, not despair, but urgency. Evan understood then that inaction had shaped his past, but it did not have to design his future. The silent architect was powerful, yes, but only when unchallenged. It thrived on delay, on fear disguised as logic. And it could be interrupted. The next steps were small. He wrote again, without waiting for confidence. He submitted work, expecting rejection and surviving it. He spoke more honestly, even when his voice shook. Some doors remained closed, time had seen to that, but others opened in ways he hadn't anticipated. Not every regret can be undone. Some paths truly are lost. But Evan learned this. The greatest tragedy is not choosing the wrong road. It is standing still until all roads fade into memory. Inaction builds quietly, patiently, shaping lives without resistance. But action, even late, even imperfect, can still redraw the blueprint. And sometimes, choosing to move at all is enough to silence the architect at last.